I hope it works.
And then unmute the mic.
Oh, that's the video.
Oh, video.
Yeah, the mic's on. Oh yeah, and it hears me.
Okay, so
So-
let's try putting the video on.
Video on? Okay. Video's on. There we go.
Good.
All right.
And there's the meeting.
Okay.
We'll have to do.
Oh, we gotta close that little box there.
Oh, gosh.
Okay. Oh.
Oh, you're back.
I like my dinner.
Thank you for doing that, Thomas. I had no touch on this thing.
So, according to the DOJ, it's okay. But we have, yeah. Appreciated it, yeah. Yes. Okay.
So,
Probably not.
I mean, do we have, let me see if we can find.
participants down the bottom.
Yeah, participants, apps, whiteboards, participants. There we go. Just us.
Thank you, Thomas.
You're welcome. No problem. Yeah, okay, so it's just us.
So this is the official start now of the general meeting of Let's Neighborhood Association on Tuesday, January 24th, 2023. Uh-oh. I hope the computer's okay. But we've got everything, we've got the video, everything going, so everybody can see who's here. Okay, so the purpose of this meeting was to see if we had enough people here to try to vote on the bylaws, revisions that were made up.
Yes.
And we've got 2 board members, Mary and myself, so it looks like we don't have a quorum for the board members.
Correct.
You don't need to. This is the joint meeting. Board already voted.
And then, yeah, we voted at the last board meeting to go ahead and move them up to the membership, but now we have 2, 4, 6. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm not here.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have, sorry. We have 7 people, and 5 board members. But we need a total of 10 people, not board members. So we cannot vote on the bylaws. So this will have to be postponed, voting for bylaws will have to be postponed again till the next general meeting. So we've been frustrated because a lot of work was done over the past, since what? Since it's been a couple months. October. October, 7 people meeting on the bylaws, taking input. As the bylaws were going through page by page, 2 or 3 pages at a time, they were put on the LNA website so people could review them, give the committee feedback. Everybody who's on the committee contributed. We had discussion on what to do, and now we've got the finalized bylaws that was approved by the board to come up for vote today. But we just don't have enough people here tonight to pass the bylaws. So we got to So at this point here, are we gonna just vote to adjourn the meeting?
Could we suggest, just some new people, maybe ask if people have questions, about bylaws or about the neighborhood association? Because Kaylin is a neighbor, and it's your first meeting, right?
I've been in the past week,
Oh, you have.
but it's been like 6, 5 years ago. I've had 2 dates and then.
Okay.
Now I've got my kid, neighbor, so I plan to to, I kind of came to, see what was going on. And also, and then, yeah, just kind of, just being felt. And it sounds like we need more members. We need more members, just like you, young people starting their families that care about their neighborhood and what's going on in it. Yeah.
Is, I hope what a good neighborhood.
Yeah, yeah. But do you want to be on the board and committee?
I didn't try to put it.
Okay.
But how many
Think
houses?
about that.
I lived in this whole area since 40. So I've been here.
About how many residential, I don't know how to put it, neighbors, or how many residences are there in that about?
22,000. 22,000.
22 to 25,000.
Wow,
And then there's some issue with 205 when they put it down the center of West. Weirdly physically divided neighborhood.
Yeah.
They do have some like, oh, I'm not going to that because it's over there. It's a weird dynamic. And you also have like this part of West as well, right here. A lot of these folks don't know anything about the neighborhood association way down in the valley. So there's some geographic challenges to the footprint of what's as it's the second largest.
so the question is, seeing how the city is virtually defunded neighborhood associations and its own neighborhood associations, how can LMA come up with a plan to do some outreach? Because I'm sure out of 20,000 households, if people knew about it, they'd say, yeah, I think maybe this is something we'd be interested in. It seems like a
I've been around a little bit for this, and every time someone made, we have more. And the problem is that Lentz is a very divided community. So if you talk about homeless, you're going to have a raucous meeting with a bunch of polarized opinions. And even our meeting spaces, some members get very upset about the location of the building or who owns the building, things like that. So
it's a church. Oh,
yeah, people get very upset. That is effectively the roots of the neighborhood, a bunch of different opinions, and having leadership that can bring everybody together is a constant challenge, because so often everybody's like, yeah, that's a great leader. And that person who's polarized on the topic alienates others, and everything falls apart. The coalition, if you will, that has been built falls apart, or they find another thing and off they go, they abandon. It's a very challenging environment, and we have no city support. Yeah, sure.
And then I think part of it too is that unfortunately civic life likes to pigeonhole people into roles. So when they send emails to the board, it's dear city leaders, and it's like, I don't know really if they're leaders, we're all leaders in our own rights. I don't really know if you can call the board leaders, but the idea is the board is really there to serve the community. And I think we could do a lot better recruitment if instead of saying, join us, it becomes, we need to talk about this. And some of the issues that are coming up probably for mothers of young children, I don't know how young your children are, is Lentz School is no longer going to be a neighborhood school. It's going to be a Spanish immersion only school. And some of our neighborhood children are going to have to schlep in a rather dangerous commute all the way to Marysville. So that's a big deal. And a lot of times what happens, they did, yeah, and what people don't realize, I'm very pro having language immersion, but they don't realize that for some people, language immersion will not be an option if your child has a learning difference, or if your child is already in a second language household and the language is not that target language. So we have some neighbors who are from the Middle East. They speak Arabic at home and they speak English, but they speak broken English at home. They don't want their children to have Spanish as that third mix because they want their kids to speak English and good Arabic. So for them, they're going to have to schlep. That's actually a racist issue, and it's an ableist issue, having to have these families schlep all the way to Foster Powell. Language teacher, it's a very big deal. Not only did it impact those neighbors who did not have tech access, it also impacted warming and cooling shelters, not just in houseless neighbors.
You're talking about during the pandemic.
What do you know? I know now.
So you're talking about the remodel. Obi?
Yeah, right.
Okay, just want to make sure.
So Midland and Holgate are now closed. They will be closed conceivably to 2024. That's optimistic. In addition to tech access, and it's not just impacting the houses, it also impacts low income seniors and low income families. There's also the heating, warming, cooling, shelter aspect. We lost out on that. I'm worried about summer literacy programs.
So Joanne, so you're saying we, as a community, lost out. What do you attribute that loss to? Because of the neighborhood association or some other element?
No, I'm saying is that if we had gone out and alerted people to that and said, hey, are you worried about the library closure? Would you like to get together as a group into the neighborhood association and call together everybody who's concerned about it? Some people weren't because they have access to tech, they have Kindle, they have Pokemon Club, they're okay with it. Other, we can bring in somebody from the library. They may brush them off if we just call them on the phone, but we can call them in. Same thing with Left School. We can call in the boss and we can meet with PTA and present a guided course. It's not just the neighborhood families who are, that they have a support network around. Other issue, of course, is Safe Rest Village on 106th and Reedway. And the possible location, it goes the promise of not having influence of those internment camps for the unhoused. We do have some vacant land in place. So
Yeah, but Joanne, when you say that, it's worth noting that you're heavily involved or advocating for service for homeless people, right?
Well, basically, I just feel everybody needs a house and everybody needs.
Well, I'm just saying, when you talk about the Reedway, I think it's good to note that you're not against serving folks in the homeless
Oh,
community.
no, but our group actually has taken a position against Safe Rest.
Sure.
Yeah, so that needs to be said too. And the reason why we've taken it, since you brought it up, the reason why we've taken against is because it did not fit the street routes analysis. It's not near public transportation. It's not near a doctor's office that accepts OHP. It's not near a grocery store that accepts SNAP. It's not near a park or recreation or a library. So I agree that I would need to go and say, yeah, I am a person who's for civil rights and that people need to be fed and housed regardless of whether they're.
Well, I'll just bring it up. We're being recorded.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You didn't start.
I was speaking. She just wants to know what the neighborhood association is about. She doesn't want to be overwhelmed with all the future problems that need to be addressed.
No, I was asked, David asked the rest of us, how would we, Robert gave a very good idea. And my point was that if we went out and told people what the issues are and how we could possibly serve them, maybe. She lives, I didn't know that, she lives about 3 blocks away from me.
Yeah,
So-
we've had some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Contact, I did on the library.
Yeah. I see what, when I got on.
Yeah, so I mean, there's some stuff that I think, and people who live on that side that we're very conscious of, like the woman who got hit by a car and got killed with her 2 dogs. That's something that the neighborhood association should have gotten around. The murder of Johnny Palamo at the 7-Eleven, that neighborhood association should have gotten around and said, hey, we need to talk. Yeah, exactly, yeah, and that could have been one of us too. So that's the type of stuff that I think the neighborhood should be not just, and then it's stuff like dumpster cleanups and doing the other stuff that, neighborhood associations do once a year, do for parties and everything. But there are some problems that have been completely under the radar for the last year. But we've had a lot of shish ban in the last year that we've heard nothing about, that I talked to neighbors about the Safe Rest Village at Reedway, and they have no idea.
I would suggest that part of that is post-pandemic. Part of it is post-daily. Part of it is the way our community kind of gets a little You know, the scorpion and the frog across the river, it's like in the nature, it's a dog. So
Big thanks for it.
I think the focus, in my opinion, of any effort should be recruitment and appointments until such time as we want to reasonable election, really start to move forward and then address bylaws.
But I guess it's elections and people don't think we do anything. Why do they want to run?
Well, recruitment, appointments.
Yeah, that's, but those are the issues that I think.
But yes.
You said, okay, get a forum to go and talk about these things, that would actually open up stuff.
Filter for, and we all work together.
What do you think, like,
And like.
you're all able together,
Always have a meeting.
at least get together,
You know,
in a meeting or
Yeah,
online? Because that's the thing, until people get together, it's gonna happen.
sure. Well, I think you're starting at the right place with having, good bylaws, right? That's the foundation, so everybody feels safe, come. I think that's great. It sounds like there needs to be, I always think like community event or, some sort of event where people in so that they can know more what's going on, so posting a
So if you know,
event.
and we.
A way to bring more people in, and I think Lent could definitely, benefit from more community, events, right? We used to have the, there was like a Lent fair, right? Yeah, Lent fair, okay, so that's an easy way, that attracted so many people, and that's an easy way to be there to, talk to the neighbors, right? Talk to the people and tell them what's going on.
Best year was 35.
Okay, yeah.
Significant number. And the COVID stuff, you might ask, so I'm shooting for this summer.
But we don't.
Okay, does the neighborhood association put that on or no?
So it started as a street fair, and the neighbor association didn't have the volunteers that could ask everyone to do it. So I took it on, because it was a product of my efforts. And that's why I. That's because there was less, there was more consistency of deliverables, right? So you knew when you were coming to the event, you have a chicken contest, and some music and some chocolate and stuff.
But you funded
Yeah. Well, it was a mix, it was a mixed
it,
association.
so the neighborhood association.
Yeah,
did-
They put 2,000 into it,
Yeah.
they cost $20,000. So
Yeah,
it's all-
You lost $20,000.
No, that was the total price tag. The Lens Neighbors Association put in 2,000 in that. So there's a lot that goes into it, but
Okay,
it's typically funded by vendor fees, it's a huge part.
okay,
And then it's sponsors and et cetera. And that year that it was 20 grand, it was 2,000 from the Lens Neighborhood Association, 2,500 from the Lens Auto Body Plays, which is a great group in the community, right? So it was a
a
bunch.
community, yeah, so
Lot of
that's
help.
wonderful,
Yeah.
yeah. Then you just have a whole, area where people are coming, enjoying, it's family friendly. That's where you can talk to neighbors, that's where you can get more people involved, right? And then also just, social media is great to get people involved. I think that we have the awesome farmers market that I am a, participant. I go with my family, I'm there. So being at the farmers market, I think it's an easy way to get people, like, to know even
Yeah,
that
when's the
there's,
last time you saw LNA at the farmers?
yeah, I don't know, yeah.
Once in the last 3 years.
Okay, yeah, so, I think that would be a easy place to start in the farmers market where people are already coming in. And it's central, at least right now, it's central, yeah.
Did you attend your PTA?
I
Did you ever hear about the LNA in the PTA?
no, but I am also a new member.
No, it's just another area of weakness that
Yeah,
at different times, if you have participants that are in those organizations, there's more outreach centric to.
exactly, then we all know what's going on and how to help each other, support each other in that way.
And
Yeah,
then a kid ages up or moves out and that link is gone. And, yeah, it's a tricky business keeping those all alive.
One of the roles for a neighborhood association is to help all the different organizations in the neighborhood interact. It's like a community forum post board type place too. So I think that is literally one of the purposes stated in the bylaws.
Yeah,
You know that there's a Lens Business Association.
yeah.
And it's not well linked to the neighborhood association, never has been. And then another weakness of construct, right? But you
And
have to
they're-
have-
That come in and do event center. So that's. You, I mean, as the LNA, whoever represents the LNA, could go there and represent them.
I think the board is what, 3 people now?
Four.
4 people now?
There is still technically 4 people in there.
So it needs, I mean, that's why my suggestion is focus on recruitment, appointment, and then the next election to get things back to a more ethical course. Because there's been a lot of challenges kind of with operation of a nonprofit, it all moves forward and what you're supposed to do. Most people, when they come to the neighborhood association, they don't know what those are, or they do and they don't care, or, you know, then it's things, or they decide in this instance, it's okay to toss them to the side. So in my opinion, that's one of the big things that the coalition office used to provide training on. So there's a lot of broken pieces that used to help complete the neighborhood association functional, and they're gone. And
Okay.
the daily efforts to curb a lot of neighborhood associations were really in those hubs where the city controlled it, and we see those kind of impacts and impacts of COVID and stuff.
Yeah, and let's go business association has the same problem, and that's there's 2 or 3 people doing everything volunteering, and they all have full-time businesses.
Well, with that, it's part of the design. I attended several of their meetings over the years that they've been in existence. At different times, they're not worried about growth of that. They want it to be more of a social club, which functions well, right? And they've recently been doing far better at engaging and outreach and connecting to the community.
Well,
I think they've seen some growth.
the company lost the venture Portland organized, which was really good.
Yeah, she was good. Amy was good, yeah.
She was, I know a lot of them, and she was like,
Yeah.
everybody else is like,
Well, Prosper Portland, I think, was the one that gave them the money to start themselves, and I think they worked in partnership with Venture Portland to become an association. And then it's just been slow movement, and again, it's just like the neighbor association, it relies on people having, time, energy. wants.
president, he's going to studio side, they're busy making side.
Yeah. Well, and Steve's Imports, he tried to kick it in the pants a couple times, and then he just got back to doing his business and away from trying to build it. But they're getting there. They're better today than they've been since they started. More visible, more mutually beneficial to businesses.
What I'm getting at, I don't think it's antiquity, I think it's just lack of horsepower.
Well, and then so the Lentz Oliver's guy there, they're relatively new owners, and they're happy to support local stuff. They don't know who to support because nobody comes and talks. And it's the same, like they, I think now are part of the Lentz Grown, which is funny because they're around the corner. And when I was talking to them a couple of years ago, they were like, no, nobody's come to talk to us at all. Right? And we're right here, happy to do it. Young couple, very excited to be in the neighborhood. Nobody talks to them. Same thing with people that arrive here, new residents, they don't ever hear about the neighborhood association. In the old bylaws, we're supposed to be sending postcards out once a year. That hasn't happened in at least 10, 12 years.
Well, that's just money.
They had 14,000 when they could have done it. They didn't do it, even when they had plenty of money.
Well, that's an issue too, is because like David said, they cut down the civic life monies too. And then we also had an instance where there was some financial mismanagement. So we went from $12,000 to $1,500 in 1 year essentially. And that became an issue as well too. So there's a lot less money. Like normally, like you said, the idea of events is really good, but it costs money.
Mhm.
But what's great is that the neighborhood associations get free insurance.
Mhm.
So,
That's-
That is great.
that's one of those things that actually can be very pricey. Because if you
Yeah.
have money to do something, it would be, but it makes it difficult to provide food at meetings, childcare at meetings.
Yeah.
And everything else, all those things that reduce barriers to participation, that are really important. If you want to bring in, like you said, young families and other people as well too.
The neighbor association was doing free childcare, and that was not very effective at all. Really. I mean, it was an effort, but it really wasn't bringing anybody in. It was usually.
Yeah, this is a hard time. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just, it's that time.
Right.
So maybe a suggestion for the only board member in the room, and Mary, is change all of the website and the Facebook to, what do you want us to do? What will get you involved? What are your ideas and suggestions? Where would you like to see us? And focus, again, my opinion is focus on recruitment, appointments, and build the board to then change the bylaws, and then continue the efforts to branch it out. That's my 2 cents.
I guess the problem though is that if we have really bad bylaws, and if you look online at our bylaws from 2014, this was last time, they are really, really bad. So if
Yeah,
you
but
have,
good, bad or other, you don't have people, doesn't matter.
but you want people coming
I
in.
completely agree with you about recruitment. We need members. We need people.
Oh, members, yeah.
That is a huge number. My mind, I agree 100%. That is the biggest problem with organization now. People
Yeah.
aren't involved.
Yeah.
People aren't participating at all.
But I worry about those.
Because I don't think they know how.
Right.
Yes,
There's
yes,
no, what do we participate in?
yes.
It's true. Yeah. What are we doing?
Like maybe one thing could be like, okay, we're gonna vote the bylaws, but also let's have one goal here. Like, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna
Big
accomplish?
social events,
One thing,
big social events.
just
right?
focus on one thing and just do that to start.
Bylaws, that's the foundation. It sets up elections, it sets up regular meetings and everything else, which, and they're pretty tight, because even Robert was on the committee.
Oh, I agree. This tradition is pretty darn good.
Yeah,
There is one negative element to it that I was thinking as I arrived here, because they don't fix this situation. There's nobody in the room, nobody to do anything with it, right? So we don't have enough people. It's not, it's just not actually.
that's where the recruitment comes in.
Right, yeah.
Enough people to take care of it.
Well, that's why I say, get the people in and then
I think it's completely fair to say that my opinion right now is the number 1 agenda report sheet.
I know.
I mean, just saying, here we are, that's why. I said-
No, you call me up, hey, you've been around, you call, anybody, hey, you've been around, you want to join the board, and you recruit till you get a board, and you say, our first line on the agenda is we're gonna change our bylaws, but we need a full board, we'd like to become a part of it. The process is simple, the board appoints them, the community ratifies that. If we showed up tonight, if we were ratifying it, you could say, we didn't have a full quorum, because we don't have a full quorum, so we voted with those present. It might be a problem, won't be as big a problem as trying to change foundations of the organization. Now you have a board, the board then brings it up, you just build on
The
that.
board has brought it up, here it is. We don't have the general membership.
Right, right. So that's my point. There's 3 members, call 3, call.
Yeah, I guess my concern is suppose like Heather's been trying to revise these bylaws since 2016.
And I think you have a copy in front of you ready to launch.
Yeah, and what I'm afraid of though is that we could wind up with board members who come in out of nowhere saying, yeah, and then they say, I don't want to revise the bylaws, I'm perfectly happy, because again, it starts at the board. So the board votes against.
So focus on, we're slightly different on the recruitment piece and recruit board members, I said recruit members.
Yeah.
We need people what's in seats
Right, yeah.
in Zoom or on meetings anyway.
Right, right.
And then that's the simple membership, can vote in the bylaws.
Is it possible to have the old bylaws there and say, oh, by the way, here's the new bylaws that have not been ratified? That
All the new have been side by side on the
kind of side by side, say, this is why we need to have you to let residents come and vote us, so we can put this in and help this organization go.
I did not get an email for this Zoom, by the way.
I didn't get the Zoom, but I got yeah,
Did you get that on like an email?
email.
Okay, so I think there may have been something happening with the Zoom, Zoom, not going out.
Okay.
So with regard to the old and the new, yes, the old are bad, the reason they're bad is because people will recognize them. That's why they were bad. So the new removes a lot of the power of people who weaponize the system. So I don't think the concern is as great as it seems to get people in, especially if the recruitment efforts are, you want you on the board, and then who the board suggests is someone they know is on board to change the bylaws. You're recruiting
Yourselves and your bylaws, that it's the general membership, That's why the bylaws were you. Well, when you power, or
Yes, absolutely. Because they had wet
I'm sure, or general members, sure, to vote on the ordinance rather than.
Maybe it might help with some of our communications, and I was hoping like, I'm not going to talk about this. Would be to help, like list the issues, complaints that there were with the old bylaws and how we addressed them in the new ones. I never saw anything, I never saw any conversation like that.
to the public.
To
We just heard about it in our meetings.
Yeah, talking about it in our meetings, but I never saw it come out to the public meeting. Just few issues.
There were the bylaws and all that was discussed.
Yeah, but it never got up to the public.
So we had an election.
Yeah, after we discussed it and we modified anything, that was.
We posted the bylaws, but so we didn't talk about it. There was no,
Explain why we're adding.
there we go. Yes.
But kind of also-
And bullet.
Yeah. Yeah, we're pleased for people why this is important.
So in, was it 2017 or 2018 that we had 200 people?
It was 2017.
Yeah.
200 people.
Yeah, so the capacity to get people invested is there, but there's been nothing but, well, I suggest it's all ethical issues with board members, but there's been nothing but issues since then with who's on the board, personalities, and, you know, club fighting, you know, all kinds of craziness, right? And so the bylaws that we revised, which I fully support, change a lot of the arena from that. So we moved it away from being able to be weaponized like it was. We removed things like the secret land use committee that nobody ever knows about, that has a lot of power and bylaws to like, wait, what is that? So I agree that the bylaws are much better and we're needed change. I'm sure there's fault in it, because there is going to be, wait a month, there's going to be some issue. That's just the nature of these kind of things. We need the bodies in the room. But I think that that comes from active recruiters. Ken, you've said, oh, we've tried, we've done this, we've done that. And that's my point. You can only do what you can do. So getting more board members, talking to people in that, will you step up and be a board member while we get this going? Maybe the avenue to then get more people in, because you have a functional board, and it can then be the task of the board. Now, everybody try to get people in, and you have a team, but right now you have no team. The team keeps shrinking, and the team has people that are not showing up, and they're not doing the job that they're ethically supposed to do, right? So you need more team, right? That's where my view of that. And I also agree more butts in the seats, but inherently, you have more of a team for board, you've got to have more people in the seats, spouses, you know, friendships and whatnot, more people talking about it. So I think it's reasonable in this phase, because of the state of Oregon nonprofit and bylaws that say 7 seats and all that other stuff, that you complete the board first, just to be in compliance. That's just my 2 cents. And then I think changing all our social media front to say, what would you like to see? What would you like to do? What would you take ownership of if you were, if you had us stuff in your back? Guess what also we can ensure events? What event would you do and host and be a part of and do both at the same time?
So how many people have you brought into the?
I don't bring anybody to
You don't
this.
bring anybody.
No. But then, you know, my history, I'm a, you know, you talk about conflict, I'm right in the center of some of that conflict, because I'm called out bigotry and I'm called out unethical actions of board members in place. That doesn't make me popular. It's okay. But I don't bring people here. I've talked to my neighbors about it. They think it's still a cantankerous thing of 2019, 2017. You know, it takes time to change those opinions. And what are they coming?
Well, if they come to the meetings, they have to be allowed to speak without being interrupted and get across their idea and what they're trying to say.
Having a consistent board, I think, would go a long ways towards reducing that perception of discussion. Because yeah, I'm 100% sure that is absolutely part of the issues going on as well. At least with the older members. Newer members might be able.
Well, as newer members, like, I'm sorry, Taylor, didn't even know we exist, right? What is that thing? Where is that thing? What does it do?
It makes it existed, but no, I had no idea how to really get involved.
Yes.
Or I mean, most of the time I just wanted to like know of what was happening. I didn't really care to get particularly involved, just as long as I knew it was there and I could keep tabs on what's going on. Then it was pretty good. was happening.
If the LMA was some sort of resource,
Yes.
it could be if it had ordinance.
If we have members, then, but there's back in that cash. But neighborhood associations are not funded. They can only get the money that they can get. What grants they can buy.
They are allotted a set amount of money each year, and they can ask for more for different activities or occasions. Sometimes they can also do fundraising.
Yeah, they can do fundraising, but they took away the allotment. Actually, what we had to do was we had to apply first come, first serve.
David's taking off, everybody. Bye. Dave.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
Next one.
Keep me up. I was in here, calendar, yeah. We have events and stuff coming up, and we know it's fire events, I'm gonna know the calendar.
You are on the MailChimp, I do believe, so.
You know,
You should get it.
You know, I supported Lentz neighbors.
Yes.
Oh, I stayed around here first. 20 years now, yeah, hard to believe, and I'll keep doing it, so you guys keep working.
I guess for me, the concern though is that we're supposed to be the neighborhood contact. And we've been an ineffective, not me, I shouldn't say, the LNA has been an ineffective neighborhood contact for probably 4 years now. And we're missing out on a lot of really important stuff for which we are the liaison. And unless you get a really good board in place, you're going to be in danger of these 7 people, 3 to 7 people meeting with the city and making decisions on behalf of the whole community. Under the guise of we don't have enough butts and seats, so we're going to go and that's why I brought up all in those litany of like sort of negativity of all the stuff that is confronting us right now. That if we wait till we get a full board and we get, it's gonna pass.
I don't think getting a full board takes that much time. I think you can have a full functioning board next month.
We've been trying for,
I think just change the tack. I think you could have a full functioning board next month. I think you could. I think it's just a matter of the board meeting, appointing people, anybody that's interested in spending time with you is interested. And I think you get there. And the chair is not functioning, you start appointing people in their absence, and then when you have enough, we'll vote her out, somebody else. We just fill in. That's okay, because we're going past. So then.
yeah, we're trying to get it. Seven board members. We don't need to be trained. We don't really care about the rest.
Yeah, but John, that's a function of who you recruit, who I recruit, Ken recruits, Mary recruits. It's a function of who you're recruiting to be on the board and making it very clear. I'd like to run the board because I want you on the board so we can change these bylaws, so we can change the history and advocate for me. And then when the person goes, nah, I want to do it for me, you go, and I don't want to do this effort, or you know, or they say, yeah, that's great, right? It's a function of the recruitment. I think that there's a good point that's made to sign we deal with that in our new bylaws, so they can be there till they get the new bylaws. But she made a good point. She says, what do you even do? Well, again, the Facebook page, the other page should be changed to say, well, we get a free use of parks every year. So if PTA wants to talk to the neighbor association, has a free event for the whole PTA in the park, as long as there's response signs, that's a free use. Done.
Sure.
So pet parade is that, pet parade is, right? And-
Oh,
and-
great.
And then the insurance is in another one. Hey, if your event is a neighborhood block party, there's insurance.
Right. Yeah, I think that's great because that's an easy resource that people can go use and it's useful, right? Like there are events that people want to put on in the park. Yeah.
A lot of people don't know how to do the block party permits and things like that. And they're actually very easy.
Yeah,
Once you know, you don't even know who do I talk to.
yeah,
Like there's a thoroughfare, I think it's 112. You can't close 112 because emergency uses that as a continuous route. You can't close 92nd because the fire department, but you can close whole. And there's chunks of it you can close. Well, who do you go to for that? You should be able to go to the neighbors.
yeah.
And nuisance trees, and if somebody cuts a tree down that's over a certain diameter, there's a land use issue there, and you can complain, and who you complain to? Well, what if there's rats? Those people know that they call Vector. Vector deals with rats, right, or helps you deal with rats. Well, that's all neighbor association stuff, but who knows it? I happen to know it's been around a long time, right? And I would have to jump it into something.
You know,
Yeah.
too much noise, they're too enthusiastic for pickles. noise variances. We should be getting the noise variance.
Well, the Pickles failed to send out their good
Exactly.
neighbor agreement, because anytime somebody complains about noise, Pickles should send them the good neighbor agreement, they signed it. So, I was there for that too. Yeah, and there's a bunch of cool parts of our city, our, community, that nobody even knows about. There's a huge employer over here called Boston. They're a co-packer for like trail cars and stuff. They're always looking for more employees. Nobody knows about that. And they're just next to Zager Farms, actually. So massive plant, multi-million-dollar effort there. That plant, it's one whole building, is all the same production. Nobody knows about it. I know because they were one of our people I recruited to come get lunch there. So how do you bring all this stuff together? Well, you need some place to deposit it, some conversation to share it. None of that's been facilitated by the neighborhood association for a very long time. It's all interest-based. And but previously, a particular land use person, if you happen to be on that person's good side, and share it with the world. Weren't really like hear a word. Well, really shouldn't be that way. It should be more indexed on a website where if you put your issue in, well, who's going to build that website?
You're in technology, I also think.
Yeah.
That's a great.
Yeah, and pool it all in place, then we can then go to all the PTAs, go, here's a new resource that tells you what is free because of your tax dollars in your neighborhood, and you can do, and who you can talk to. And then have a forum, here's how you present ideas to the neighborhood association and get us on board. So that's my 2 cents anyway. I got a lot of sense. Got about $1 out of me now. And I'm happy to help out these things. That's the other thing, is I don't just come up with the stuff. I'm happy to help. But I leave these meetings and my phone doesn't ring, my email doesn't have a thing. Hey, could you follow up? How you doing? The neighborhood association, always welcome. There's a fancy sign in here too.
We got one more.
Have dinner.
Yeah.
It might be hot now.
Okay, I'll eat.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're at a point that there wasn't a quorum, so we're just chatting about
Yeah.
what this
Nice
place
to
is.
see. I remember when your dog was all 12.
Yeah,
And
she
reading
just
books
moved
at
to New Mexico. She's in college.
Yeah, both of my sons will come up and sign in. They should be members since they've been signed in many times over the years. But I told them. So Mary asked me if I brought people. I'm like, oh, what is this thing? Not until it seems like there's some reason to bring it.
That's sort of the same.
Well, it sounds like you guys trying to.
So, that's what we got. But that goes back to
Don't want to bring
her suggestion.
association, but you can't have an association if there aren't people.
But that goes back to her suggestion of what does the association provide what can the association provide you in your group or you're part of our neighborhood or whatever, right? I think that there's an underutilized resource in the webpage, and the Facebook page, and sadly, it's a techno issue that needs a team and it needs some proficiency, probably needs a little money, and yeah. I think they're doable.
We're like the major contacts for land use and transportation too.
And
The
city
neighborhood association contacts the neighborhood association. As the neighborhood association does not contact the rest of the community, or it's not really known about, like you said, then nobody knows about anything. But I guess I get passionate about land use because land use affects generations. Say more people are impacted by poverty in zip code, actually, than race or health disparities. So I was worried about stuff like that. We had a lot of stuff fall between the cracks last year and a half that are really heating up now. And it's just, I'll disclose, right, housing justice advocacy is that my big concern is, again, the real estate developers coming in now that the market is slowing down. And now that the eviction moratorium ended, there's going to be more people houseless, mainly because of not having that first and last month's deposit and not having a landlord who wants to renew and good tenants. And then you have a lot of seniors and people with disabilities and fixed incomes who cannot afford their property taxes. So every nice thing that we get, we should winds up in an increase in property taxes. Property taxes affect the homeowners, but they also get passed on to renters. It affects the schools, it affects everything.
Do you attend the impact housing subcommittee?
I do quite a bit actually.
Excellent place.
Yeah, so, you know, and I've brought up some of the concerns that have come up with that too. And having children grow up basically going from school to school, changing schools in the middle of the year because of their family.
Well, one of the problems with PPS that plagues them is the birth rates don't support long-term models for staffing in your schools. And the problem they're having is that migration rates, which they have a model for, is what's killing each school with overpopulation. So they're under resourced constantly because that population is messy.
And then the big question is too, that is Marshall High School, which is our local high school. They essentially weren't using that except for when they other school had a remodel. Grant was over there, Benson was over there, but not Marshall. And then they had just the academies over at Marshall. Marshall should be a full service high school. So,
You know, that's a PPS. You get back to advocacy and all.
But part of that too is that when we first, I remember them saying the reason why they approved Lentz sort of supported the rewind library was because they were hoping that the Lentz high school students would have a way out of Lentz, that they would be able to get to Upward Bound and PSU rather easily without taking 2 buses or whatever, you know, that they could get to their part-time jobs, that they could get to this, that, and the other. It was a way of opportunity. And then right after the light rail came in, they closed down Marshall High School.
Well, they also just put in 600,000 to build the shop in there the year before.
Oh, yeah.
So bad. So I have a suggestion because I think we're close to time.
Yeah.
So what can we all agree is something we can do between now and next meeting? I would suggest recruitment, but that requires our board members to say, yeah, we're ready to appoint people. But I would say, well, there you go.
but recruiting is very, very important. Appointments, we have to find out, EPO asking to find out what the status are of the board members who have been derelict of their duty, and I haven't got a response.
Well, you do have 13 seats you could fill. You have 4 or 5 recognized seat holders right now. You have a vacancy in the secretary and the vice chair. So you can appoint somebody to secretary, you can appoint somebody to vice chair.
But I'm not, as a board member, I don't want to appoint anybody unless the general membership approves.
Well, that's the second.
Second step. When we get the board makes an appointment that brings up that news.
What I would suggest to do, I would suggest a bit of time, is that put on Facebook, that we're recruiting for fill in the blank position. I would not go up to 13 because
Oh, it's operating.
last 5 months is supposed to go between 3 and 7. So definitely not go up to 13. So we're going to require an extra 6 people when the time comes. So I would suggest we put it looking for fill in the blank seats. So some of them, secretaries have never been very desired for large reason, but it's a vice chair. And then like this, there's a potential for more than one candidate. Where I think with we're creative is point one person we know, and somebody says, you know, if I have not the opening there, I would run for fifth blank, and you didn't tell me that that was open. And then if only one person shows up, get it approved by the board, then at the general meeting, get it secondarily. If you've got more than 2, then more than 1 into an election. You know, at discussion camps or whatever, that's just, you know, but in the past, we have.
Well, so you're saying to effectively recruit.
I would say recruit for those empty.
So that's Joanne and I. Who else has a suggestion? That's Joanne and I offered suggestions. Who else has a suggestion for between now and next time? Something to do with general with recruiting. Anybody else? Okay, and so then who controls the Facebook page right now?
Baptist, I think, and dereliction.
I think Bradley's the only one that has, you guys that has that.
So if Bradley's an admin, he can appoint again the rest of you as an admin. Yeah. And so then the request then as a product.
He doesn't have.
No, just saying, same thing. So then the request is to send a message to Bradley and say, as a product of this meeting, we, the folks that gathered, would like to see a post on the Facebook page as soon as reasonable, I know it's in the woods, that says, we are recruiting, we're trying to seat board members by our next board meeting and the date. Please send your email to whoever.
What I like to point out that Bradley is the public transportation.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
Chairperson, so, you know, he's gone beyond his.
That's okay.
Duty.
It's still a board, all of you board officers can function in a pretty wide capacity until the other board members says, you can't do that, it's my job.
If someone has technical knowledge, we can get that without messing things up, whether they know a lot of us.
I think we should. I'll make sure that gets posted at least next.
Yeah.
Last weekend of the term. Now, with the new bylaws passed, we should remove people, but just be very careful. I think it was 2022 people we're gonna be stuck with until 2024.
Right, but I would suggest, don't bring Gary. I mean, I'm just using an example, right? So Joanne, don't go and say, hey, Gary, gotta be on the board. Hey, I nominated Gary.
Right.
Just don't do that. And through that effort, maybe the board in their judgment might get some of us.
Have it been around for a while and I wanted to think, oh, all right, yeah.
It's nice to see it's human faces.
Sure, I'll take that.
I.
Please, I heard.
She'll take that, so.
Yeah, I can't because it was up on the Facebook. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's super important.
Where they just.
They have to watch.
It was the salad. The salad.
Are you gonna take this out?
Do you want me to, are we adjourning? Do you want me to turn this off?
Yes.
Okay, official start.
I make-
Yeah, I think we just basically started as soon as it's recorded, started recording. It's like,
And I think that
Make a motion that we end the meeting.
and the meeting.
Yeah, I make a motion to end the meeting.
I said,
All
right.
We end the meeting officially.
aye.
Thank you.
I